Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. Party people in the place to be. How y'all doing? It is myself, Dave Valente, with Dan
Hola.
and AJ Gamble. How you doing?
Hello, hello. I'm
Hola
doing
is
well. How are y'all?
Spanish for hello.
Is it really?
Is it?
I actually don't know what the literal translation is, but
I believe it is. Oh, hello. I believe.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
think it's hello.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
that.
I lived in New Mexico for 11 years, and I mean, I took high school Spanish, which
Yeah,
means I
Mhm.
knew less coming out of the class than I did going into the class. So
I know that U2 says it in their song Vertigo.
this is true.
So, what are you
Mhm.
drinking, Dave?
I am drinking Yingling's Hershey's Porter.
Nice.
Very
I do
tasty.
like a chocolate porter. I think we've had the conversation. There's a chocolate peanut butter porter called Sweet
Yes.
Baby Jesus.
Yeah, DuClaw Brewing out of, Northern Panhandle, yeah.
Yeah, they're not kidding when they say that.
Although it is not the best chocolate porter. Um,
Interesting.
Boulder Brewing Company in Denver, Colorado has their, chocolate quake, I believe it's called, is chocolate milkshake porter.
Where
Delicious.
was that?
In Denver. So when you go out to Denver,
Hmm.
the only thing is it'll make you fart like a motherfucker, so
Well, I don't drink, but like when you come to visit,
Did
yeah.
you
that's what.
have it when you were there for the 50th?
No, I couldn't find it when I was there for the 50th, but I didn't look too hard because I mean, really, we were
Right.
having too much fun at Cherry Creek, so, um, yeah, I didn't go out too much looking for any outside of alcohol, so, but yeah,
Fair enough.
this is good stuff, it'll get you through the, cold winter days, so
Well,
or fall days.
I am now mostly alcohol restricted, so I'm
You
just
are.
on cannabis.
And I found out an interesting thing this week because I didn't know it. I really had no clue until I drove by. There's a grocery store that's right next to my work. Um, I was popping in to grab some stuff for work, because I don't get too much of a chance to run out during the day. Um, there's a dispensary there, and I pulled up and it said, "This line for adult use only." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Because I knew Maryland had legalized for medical and they legalized the possession, but I'd never seen anything about them legalizing the recreational sale of it. So, yeah, their dispensaries are selling to adults now, which is great because we've all been waiting for um, Virginia to open up their stuff, and that's been delayed and tied up and all that stuff. So. Maryland has beaten them to the jump. They've beaten a lot of places to the jump in the area. So they'll be the
Oh,
first to
benefit.
get all that money, yeah.
Oh yeah,
West
pretty good.
Virginia's got medical finally, and the dispensaries have finally started to open here, but, it's medical, and a lot of people that, you know, I guess with our political leanings,
Mhm.
don't like the idea of having to give up things like their Second Amendment rights to be able to use cannabis. So,
Yes.
when you fill out your form to get a gun, it asks you if you're a cannabis user. If you're a medical cannabis user, it is actually lying on the form to say, "No, I'm not
Yes.
a cannabis user." So, um,
Well, and
and
we
if
know
you're
somebody who's in trouble for that.
I'm sure I know somebody who's in trouble for it, but who
Hunter
got in trouble?
Biden,
Oh, that's true, yeah.
right? That's essentially his deal. I mean, it wasn't cannabis, but
Yeah, it
they
was
asked him if
yeah.
he was a drug user, and he said no. when in reality he was.
He uses all the drugs.
He uses all the drugs.
All the
Uh,
drugs.
and
Yeah, I mean, if you're living life right. I mean, jeez.
and he has some guns. So, Janice made a great point.
Oh, I gotta put the comments up here. Hold on.
This is, yeah, definitely put the comments up. This is the anniversary of the Gettysburg Address. And I was thinking I might read it. It's pretty short,
Yeah, it is.
honorable thing. So if people don't object,
Objection. Oh, sorry.
I'm going anyway.
All right, let's do it.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of it as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that a nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this, but in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated to the unfinished work which those who fought here gave their lives and nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. Thanks, Abe. That was amazing.
Did you read that from memory?
Not quite. I did memorize it at one point in time, and you might have noticed, yes, I flubbed a couple of the lines, and so I got a little bit lost, and I looked at the text to remind myself of where I used to be.
No, that's completely admirable. I memorized it in 11th grade for a speech presentation on great speeches in history, and that was the one I chose. Great speech. And originally it was panned by the press because it was so short. Like all
Yep.
those people have been waiting there for hours to hear the president speak, and it was like a minute and 41 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
The speech was given in, and you know, but reading the text of the speech and understanding what it says is, far endured anything that may have been written about that.
Right. I always try to not laugh at the spot where it says, the world will little note nor long remember what we say here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like,
Hey, Jasper.
Yeah.
Hey, Janice. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate everybody joining us.
So I have to tell.
Hey, Jake Leonard.
Hey, Jake. I have to tell a
Hi.
slightly inappropriate story.
Yes, do it.
People who know me know my best friend Chad died a few years ago, and I spoke at his funeral. And for me, the piece that I read I wanted to do was "When I Cross the Bar" by Tennyson, which is just a phenomenal poem. But his parents wanted me to read Psalm 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I had to edit it because the relationship that Chad and I had, right? This guy was my best friend. And at one point in time, I was going to school in England, even though we were born on exactly the same day, exactly the same year, both born October, I'm going to skip the date, but in 1967. And but I was a year ahead of him in school, and I teased him about that all the time. When he graduated, he came to visit me. I was going to school in England. We met two girls. We brought them back to our hotel room. Chad had sort of figured out the logistics of things, and we'd all been out drinking, and so we had to go to the bathroom. By the time the girl that I was with was done with the bathroom, Chad and his partner were going at it. I was 18 years old. I was not ready to perform in that manner in front of my best friend. So we went to the bathroom and we did it in the bathroom. And, of course, it's closed and cramped and uncomfortable, but it's 18 years old, right? You can do anything. You can do it any which way you want when you're 18 years old.
Volkswagen
So
Beetles are a thing.
afterwards, the girls left. And I came out and I told Chad, I'm doing like, dude, I want you to know it was incredibly uncomfortable in that bathroom. He's like, Dan, I knew that you were incredibly uncomfortable, and that added to my sexual pleasure. So that's the kind of friend that he was. We were
That
just,
is,
you
yeah,
know,
that's a
phenomenal.
good friend.
So at his eulogy, I'm asked to read Psalm 23, and there's a part in there where it says, "Thy rod and thy staff they comfort me." And I'm like, I have to
No, they
skip that
don't.
part because I'm just going to laugh, and that is inappropriate when reading a psalm at a funeral. So I did leave that
Mm.
part out. But
Did you ever
it was,
watch the British television show? Don't watch the American version of it, but the British television show Coupling.
I mean, the American version of it is actually Friends.
Well, no, yeah,
Then they made another one.
yeah, they tried to make an American version, and all they did was just try and Americanize it, and it was awful.
Yeah, yeah.
But the British version was amazing, and then there's this. It's called the Giggle Loop, and they're all
I'm not familiar.
all five of them are or six of them are at a funeral. And the giggle loop is like one person starts giggling, and then everyone starts giggling, and you can't stop
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And then they start giggling during this funeral, and yeah, that's me. I would start giggling at a funeral and not be able to stop.
I have gotten into so much trouble at funerals, like, not even on purpose. I swear it's not my fault. My
Nice.
stomach has always been very loud, and when I'm anxious, it is especially loud.
Oh,
And
mine
I
is.
was working for the sheriff's department, and so, you have a department death, like, everybody goes. We fill up the aisles, that's just what you do. So I'm sitting there, and there's, like, me and, like, the sheriff's secretary and one of the investigators, his wife, another investigator, and his wife. So that second investigator is 3 people away from me, and my stomach starts going, and he leans forward and goes, just as loud as he could, and sheriff is up front, and he's watching us, and he's like, you know, "Stop, like, behave yourself." Oh my god, it was so embarrassing. But they're the ones that are the worst for making you laugh at a funeral because they're the most morbid motherfuckers ever.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
first
you deal with death
responders
all the time.
are the most morbid people.
Right.
They will get you laughing. There was we were standing outside the crematorium when they started, and he was like, "Yeah, we probably ought to go before, the smell." It was like, and it's like, "Yeah, don't, you don't wanna be here for that." And it wasn't until they said that I was actually thought it, and it's concerning because it doesn't smell bad necessarily until you realize what it is.
Yeah.
So, yes, many, many, many funerals I have gotten in trouble at.
So James says at least you didn't fart during the sheriff's speech. There's a video that's out there. I've shared it a couple times. It's like somebody is singing in a church, and like people are. I mean, it's like a rehearsal of some sort. And this dude farts, and it sounds like one of those A10 warthogs that is strafing the church is like, "Roar." I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to hold that together for that. But yeah, so that reminds me, Albuquerque, one of the best barbecue restaurants is a place called The Quarters.
Mhm.
Barbecue.
It's in kind of downtownish area, but closer to the east side of Albuquerque. Um, but The Quarters is great, except for when you go there, you don't know what you're smelling. You don't know if you're smelling great barbecue or the crematorium across the street.
Hmm.
Yes,
That's disturbing.
it
The
is a
barbecue is good
problem.
enough to just continue to go in there. Just think it's the barbecue. But there's
Oh,
always that lingering question in the back of your mind.
Well,
uh,
especially right if you consider, the part that you're sort of dancing over, which is that cooked humans smell like cooked
like
pork,
pork.
I'm sure.
Mhm.
Probably tastes like chicken.
and
Fried green tomatoes taught us all that.
yep, yep. Did it? I didn't know that.
I
It's
You
didn't
funny.
gotta go back and watch that movie now.
I guess so. Like I
I
only
It'll
thought
get your
I
heart
thought it
vaguely
rate up.
was
I only vaguely recall it. I mean, I watched it because Dolly Parton's in it, and right, she's just amazing.
yes.
Is
Wait,
is
what?
she not in it? What am I thinking
No, no,
of?
Not
no,
in
no,
fried
no,
green
no.
tomato. You're thinking
And
of Steel Magnolias.
Andy
Oh, I
McDowell's
am thinking of Steel Magnolias. I have no idea what the hell fried green
Andy
tomatoes is then.
Andy McDowell and, can't remember what the male lead was, but he was kind of a, one of those foreign stud muffins back in the early '80s, late '80s, sorry.
Interesting. Here is an interesting fact about Andy McDowell and what movie was it? I can't remember. But her southern accent was so strong that they had to bring in Holly Hunter to dub essentially all of her voice because in the end they
Wow,
decided it was just too strong and they couldn't use it.
I love
Very
Holly
interesting.
Hunter.
that's
I
crazy.
also
I had a major crush on Holly Hunter when I was younger.
interesting. All right, your favorite Holly Hunter movie?
I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's the one with where she was in the, one of the producers for a network news show.
Broadcast News.
Broadcast News.
Yeah, with William Hurt. That is she's excellent in that. I
Yeah.
agree.
And then she, as the
100%.
wife of, um, in Field of Dreams.
That is not Holly Hunter.
That's not Holly Hunter?
No, that is I can't even remember what that woman's name is. But Holly Hunter is a brunette and everything. And that woman's a redhead. Are you think Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner and James Earl
Yeah.
Jones? And no, that's somebody else. For me,
Oh, you
like
got
my favorite movie, yeah, you can look it up because I'm going to talk for a bit. My favorite movie is Raising Arizona, where she's
oh,
unbelievable in that. But I can't put aside 13. If you've never seen that, and I don't know that it's going to work for anybody else, but holy crap. That is, yeah, Philip's got it.
Amy
Amy
Madigan.
Madigan
That's
is the
yeah.
date. Yeah, 13 with what's her name? Three-barreled name, as well as Holly Hunter as the mother. Boy, just a nightmare of like how exhausting it must be to raise a 13-year-old girl, and all the shit that's out there. So like, holy crap, she's so good. Yeah, she's an amazing actress. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And she won the Oscar for that whaling one in Australia, right? The piano.
Oh, yeah, the what, Black Swan or something like that?
No, the
That
piano.
was it?
I
Yeah,
think.
the piano,
Yeah.
okay.
Anna Paquin also won for that. Youngest Oscar winner ever.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
she was the child, the best supporting actress.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
I forget that.
It's Oscar season,
Mm.
Oscar,
I
yeah.
I haven't seen any movies. Uh,
it's been years since, I mean, before the pandemic, since I've been to it. I think Super Troopers 2 was the last movie I saw in the theaters. So
yeah,
it's
Uh,
sad. I haven't seen I need to go to a movie. There's been a couple that have are teased for the winter that I'm
the
interested
the
in looking to, but I can't remember what they are now, so
the
and I go to the local theater pretty often because they have the $5 matinees.
there's
used to be
the
$1.
Empire of the Something Moon. The what's his name? Yeah, I definitely want to see Napoleon too. Although it's really hard for me to like talk about that and not just leak spoilers out of there because there's so much about
He eventually
funny
loses.
James. There's so much about the military campaigns that is so important to the movie that I really hope they get into that well.
You bet.
But Empire of the something moon. Audience, help me out with what I'm talking about. It's
Killers of the Flower Moon?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Empire of the Sun or something. But Killers of the Flower Moon with De Niro and what's his name? Francis Ford Coppola as the director.
Is it
Or is it
Phil?
Scorsese?
Phil's got it. Phil is a movie
Thank you, Phil.
genius.
And De Niro's not the lead in it either. I can't remember who's the lead.
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio. And that guy, I don't know if he's got much of a future in film. But well, I will, however, do the joke that Ricky Gervais did at the Golden Globes. He said, we're here to honor a lot of great movies. Leo DiCaprio's here. He's in The Revenant. It's like, boy, it's a long movie. Over 3 hours. In fact, that movie is so long that by the time it was over, Leo DiCaprio's date was too old for him.
Nice. Gotta love that.
Uh,
All right, y'all ready to talk about Sweden?
Let's talk about Sweden.
Willkommen to Sweden.
I got some sugar and I got some coffee, and it's a little bitter, and so I want to sweeten it.
ah,
Wow. All right, here we go.
All week.
This is the Swedish national anthem in the background, of course. All right, that's the Swedish flag, beautiful blue and gold. That is the country of Sweden. Down towards the bottom, it's actually hidden by me. Is Stockholm, the capital. That is the beautiful capital. Of
Gorgeous.
Stockholm. You can see the castle and the Riksdag in both of these little videos, time-lapse videos of Stockholm.
I feel like
Beautiful.
there's a syndrome there.
There is. You get captured there, you want to stay there. But beautiful scenery, forestry all over the country. It is in Scandinavia. Scandinavia's largest country by both land and population, although not by coastline. That belongs to Norway because they've got all those inlets and fjords and all that stuff. This is Malmo. This city is on the southern tip of Sweden. It is actually connected to Denmark by a large bridge. So Copenhagen and Malmo are connected. And of course, Sweden has the beautiful northern lights that display anytime the sun sends cosmic rays to the earth, causes the blue, purplish lights to dance in the sky there in northern Sweden. Sweden, of course, part of the country is above the Arctic Circle, so a lot, some of that country experiences, midnight, basically nighttime all year or during the winter.
6 months.
Well, not 6 months. Probably from the end
Longer.
of this month
Yeah.
until the end of January, they tend to see that. Right now, the in Kiruna, which is in the top part of this country, sun comes up at about 9:04 in the morning and sets at 1:41 in the afternoon. So it's not a lot of sun during the day in the winter, but during the summer, it is 24-hour sun. So it's kind of a trade-off there. But Sweden is an absolutely beautiful country, and there's some interesting facts about Sweden. From a libertarian perspective, taxes are called scat, which I think is
Nice.
fitting. Which I
So you can pay your taxes by singing. Beep-a-lop-a-doo-dop-a-doo.
are you the
That's
scat?
my scat. Yep.
Private property is not a big thing in Sweden. So, as a visitor to Sweden, you can cross any land. You can camp. You can do basically all land in Sweden is open for anybody to use. They can't make profit off the land, and they can't like camp within a certain amount of feet from a dwelling. But land, there is really no such thing as no trespassing in Sweden. So, but there are some rules that you can't profit off of it. You can't, destroy the land or anything like that. Like a company couldn't come onto your land and decide to plant 35 acres of sorghum to make a profit off your land.
Could
They
I
would have
build a fence around my yard?
no. Well, you can, but the authorities can order you to take the fence down if it's seen
Interesting.
as impeding everyone's access to your land. So that's another thing. In the 70s, Sweden had a massive socialist issue where the country had gone into what is a classically socialist state command economy. They had actually moved towards workers taking over companies and things like that. Um, it was stopped by the author of Pippi Longstocking. Astrid Lindgren had did an interview saying that she was going to leave Sweden, and the reason why she was going to leave Sweden was because whenever she wrote a book, she would have to pay money to write the book. Her tax rate was about 104% on any earnings. So when that story came out, that kind of led to a large tax revolt in the country. The country is not as socialist as it is. It does have high taxes, but most of their taxes are towards government or towards services like personal welfare, towards medical, towards education, rather than the
Social
largest
safety
government.
net stuff.
Yeah, social safety net. Like people think of their taxes in Sweden as an investment in themselves rather than I'm giving away my money to some lazy person now, who knows where. So the taxes in Sweden are seen as more of a help for themselves, helps them do things like have long vacations, you know, better working conditions and things like that. It's
Maternity.
actually in many ways very much freer to start and operate a business in Sweden than it is in the United States. So there have been many reforms that have happened in Sweden since the 70s to free up the economy because they see that the economy doing better actually helps them afford more of the social safety net stuff that they like. So that's how they look at it. The way their income taxes happen, so income to 20,200 kroner, which is about $2,000 a year, is a zero tax rate. Anything above that to 537,200 kroner is only local taxes at 32%. Once you go above that, now 537,200 kroner is about $51,000 a year. Anything above that is taxed at 20% national rate and a 50 52% local tax rate. So it is steep. But when you think about the taxes that we pay in the United States and the stuff that we get taxed on and other things, the fees and all that stuff,
It all adds up.
a lot of times I think that we demonize Sweden, but don't look at how our taxes are applied. Um, Plus what we get
Are
for our taxes versus what Sweden and others countries get to it. Now, you can make the case about, Sweden's economy, not having any foot as big of a military bill, but that's gonna change because Sweden is going to NATO and are gonna have a military budget target that they have to keep up with. So, um, that'll be interesting to see what happens with Sweden. Um,
Wait, did anybody force Sweden to join NATO?
they did not force well, I mean, I think the idea of what Russia's been doing has led Sweden down this road.
Interesting. Now, Sweden was also opposed in joining NATO, right? By Turkey.
Yes, Sweden was so one of the things that's been happening in Sweden, and they complain about, there's a bunch of immigrants coming into Sweden. Swedes still make up 80% of the population in Sweden. Um, there's like less than 2% Syrian, less than 2% Iraqi
Right.
population there in Sweden.
They're
They have
essentially
ta-
homogenous.
They've taken in quite a few. They did have a very um, open immigration policy in Sweden, but still, vast majority of the country is Swedish. Um, but they have had the rise of the Swedish Democrat Party, which for a long time was kind of one of those verboten parties that you don't take part in. But it is very anti-immigrant, very
Right. Right.
socially conservative party.
As Donald Trump said, Sweden for America.
Yeah. Well, at least didn't try and take Greenland from Sweden.
Right.
But yeah, with yeah,
Let
right, Phil. The Russia did kind of force Sweden's hand, although Sweden does not share a border with Russia.
Well, but they do have an interesting history.
Oh, they do
Uh,
absolutely with Russia. Yeah,
the Great Northern War fought between Sweden and Russia, led by the greatest Swedish leader of all time, Gustav Adolphus.
Gustav Adolphus. There are colleges in the United States named after him.
One of the fascinating things that he did was he invented the volley, which is the idea that if you are shooting at people with guns, rather than everybody shooting their gun as fast as they can, you have everybody aim, and the front row of people kneel down and they all fire at once. And then they back up. The next people aim while you're reloading and fire, with the idea that all these bullets flying at once will
Constant
break a
spring.
charge. Exactly. Something
Yeah,
like that. And he invented it. And for a while, the Swedish were really kicking ass. But then, it's still cold there. And
it is very cold there, but it is beautiful. Um, the land there is absolutely beautiful, and I still want to experience Scandinavia in winter when it is, night almost the entire time. Whether it's Iceland or Sweden or any one of those countries, Estonia, Finland, Denmark. Denmark a little less so because it's the southern part, but being able to experience the northern lights and that level of cold and that level of dark, I think is kind of cool.
yep.
Um,
And I think, one of the things we should talk about is that they are one of the few, sadly, nations in the world which has tremendous women's sports programs.
It
Obviously,
is. I mean, they were an innovator, and not just in women's sports programs, but women's participation in politics. Their Riksdag is I think it's still majority women. A lot of the leaders of Sweden's political parties are female. They've had several female prime ministers in their history. Yeah, I mean, their sports programs, their soccer team has been a top soccer team for ages.
yep.
Um, Probably the best European hockey team as well. Um,
They excel. They in Norway too, to be fair, but in the biathlon, which is of
oh God,
course the greatest of all winter sports, cross country skiing and shooting combined. um,
yeah.
and
I mean, the level of control your body has to have be able to do cross country skiing is one
right,
thing. I mean, that is physically grueling, but then to lay down prone and take shots at a target. I don't even know how far it is away, but it's a good distance away, and try and hit all the targets at once. And there are people who go through it perfectly,
yeah.
hitting all the
Well,
targets, slowing down your heart rate to be able to aim your gun and hit that target is amazing.
right. And I don't really understand the biathlon, but I think you can't leave until you finish shooting the targets.
You can if you because you only have a certain number of shots that you can hit all the targets in, and
Right.
if you
And
miss
you
all
take
of
a
the targets,
penalty.
you have to take a penalty lap.
Wow.
Based on the number of missed targets. So, yeah, I watch all kinds of obscure sports. Of course, they're also very good at curling, which is don't watch curling with me. I make inappropriate comments. Um, just like don't watch volleyball with me. I make inappropriate comments. Um, but yeah, the Sweden is a very interesting country, and I think it gets demonized a lot, especially on the right when it comes to the perception of its politics, that it is this, oh, it's socialism. Nothing could be further from the truth if you're talking about socialism as an economic policy. Absolutely not. It is a welfare capitalist country, but it
Yeah.
is a very much capitalist country.
Well, and probably a great example of that is, what's the two Swedish countries that people know the best? Probably Volvo and
IKEA.
IKEA, I guess. Well, so it's interesting, actually. I don't know if you know this, but Norway, Denmark, and Sweden have all agreed to allow IKEA to organize their navy, and they
This is
put giant QR codes on them so that they can Scandinavian. Sorry, I can't resist that one. But Volvo, of course, is no longer owned by Sweden. I believe Volvo is still owned by Ford. And what's
Incredible.
what's crazy about it is the day that Volvo sold to Ford, Netscape sold to AOL for exactly the same amount of money, $4.4 billion. And that was just strange, right? I
Netscape,
mean,
AOL.
right. In retrospect, it was probably
I
worth
always
more
thought,
than
I
now.
always thought that Netscape and Yahoo should have gotten together, and they could have called themselves Net and Yahoo.
That's funny too.
Yeah.
Um, I also would like to go to Sweden. I'd like to do all of the thing. We should comment briefly, I think, about the Stockholm syndrome, which
Yes.
is mistakenly called the Helsinki syndrome in one of the diehards, I believe. But essentially, there was a hostage situation,
It must have
and
been
you can look
Die
it up,
Hard 1 then.
huh?
It must have been Die Hard 1 then.
I think it's Die Hard one, yeah, and they call it the Helsinki syndrome, but it's the Stockholm syndrome, of course.
Yeah, so,
Uh,
I mean, the most famous, idea of that is, Patty Hearst.
right,
So, Patty
exactly.
Hearst was abducted by the Sudanese Liberation Army, to be held for ransom from her father, William Randolph Hearst, the Hearst
Yeah,
newspaper dynasty. And eventually she starts taking part in their attacks. She's seen wielding a gun at a bank robbery and things like that. And she tried to argue Stockholm syndrome that, she eventually started feeling something for her captors and their cause and was not of clear mind when she did what she did, but she still did some time in prison for her actions during the bank robbery. So, but yeah, it's the idea that when you're kidnapped or you're under duress in a situation where you're not free to move about, that you begin to identify with your captors, especially if their cause is something that has
you seem
something
allied with
to
them.
it. Yeah, you eventually ally with them and take up their cause. So
Yeah,
yeah,
just one of those things. Anything else interesting about Sweden?
there's lots of stuff interesting about Sweden. So let me talk about the city of Kiruna.
Okay,
Kiruna is the
way up
north part
north.
of the country, inside the Arctic Circle. Literally was undermined. And you think of that term, you're like, "Oh, I've been undermined." Like somebody has taken out my footing and that, whatever I'm doing has been impacted. Literally undermined. Um, take out iron ore up there in the Norrbotten country and went under the city of Kiruna. City actually had to be moved several kilometers away because the under part of the city was unstable due to the mining. So it was literally undermined. So the city of Kiruna has been moved several kilometers away from where it was. The Swedish government actually built a new town there. So, but I mean, that's kind of a trip to think that literally was undermined by the iron ore industry.
It's Sweden has because of the nature of the cold weather and stuff like that, they've built a lot of underground facilities.
Yeah.
A lot of light and stuff like that. There's churches and athletic centers and stuff like that. They built underground because for people who know, once you get under, I believe, 6 feet down, the Earth is pretty consistently about 55 degrees. And so you don't have to heat it up very much, even in the middle of winter.
The Cumberland Caverns here in Warren County, it's 333 feet underground and it's 56 degrees year round.
Yeah.
When the rest of us were dealing with the rolling blackouts during Christmas, I was like, we could go be warmer in the Cumberland Caverns, right? Like if we could get there, we would be so
Yeah.
much warmer.
Yeah, exactly. Phil mentions Gotland. Yeah, Gotland is strategically important for Baltic security. It is Swedish territory. Uh, yeah, definitely. That whole region is so interesting to me. Like you've got Sweden and Norway, very very much related. Like my family is, I've got a part of my family that is from the Trondheim area of Norway, but the DNA goes all the way back to Sweden. So I mean, it's all interrelated in that area. Then you got Finland, that is part of the Scandinavian countries, speak a completely different language. Um, their language is related more to Hungarian and uh, you know East
Yes,
Asian or West Asian countries than it is to anything in the
right,
European
right.
continent.
Finland and Finnish and Hungarian are the only two languages of their type in the field. However, do you know
Estonian
what
a little bit, yeah.
do you know what the second official language is of Finland?
Sweden,
It
Swedish,
is Swedish.
yeah,
Exactly right.
yeah, absolutely.
Oddly
And
enough.
Swedish is a recognized language
Yeah.
in Sweden as
So,
well.
Janice brings up a good point. We haven't talked about Swedish pancakes. We haven't talked about lingonberry. We haven't talked about Swedish meatballs. But probably most important of all, we haven't talked about ABBA yet,
ABBA,
right?
I love ABBA. ABBA, I mean, probably one of the most well-known exports of Sweden is ABBA. Their long career of fantastic music that started.
Gimme, gimme, gimme a man after midnight.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if you want to see someone just belt out a song, watch that video. And I mean, the ease in which she sings that where she
Yep.
there isn't a man out there. I mean, just draws it out, and you're like, holy shit, she is
Yep.
amazing. Um,
They
but yeah,
wrote that musical Chess as well. The guys did,
yes,
um, which people know the hit song "One Night in Bangkok and the World's Your Oyster."
yeah.
Dun, dun, ba, bum, bum, bum. Swedish Fish. I actually don't know if they're from Sweden
Mm,
or not.
I don't know, but Swedish Chef from the Muppet Show. You gotta love. Burp, burp, burp. Oh, Ace of Base. They saw the sign, and it opened up their eyes.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now,
Or Ass of Bass.
let's talk about Swedish immigrants to the United States, right? Minnesota
Oh yeah.
is all, hey, how's it going? We got the
There,
lutefish.
I mean, like I said, there's Gustav Adolphus College. I think there's a couple of them. There's Augustana College, which is also a big Swedish college as well. But yeah, the all the northern territories of the United States, Minnesota,
All Bunyan is
North
Swedish.
Dakota, South Dakota, just massive Swedish populations. So,
Common nickname is Swede.
and don't eat lutefisk.
Yeah, that's disastrous. It's just,
I
I mean,
mean, you bring up a lot of good Swedish food, lingonberries, the Swedish meatballs. Of course, if you want to go to IKEA, that everyone talks about eating the Swedish meatballs. IKEA's meatballs don't
there is
hold a candle to
right.
real Swedish meatballs. So
The recipe that I like best for lutefisk, it
toss it right in the
involves,
trash.
well, so it involves jogging. You have to go out and you have to jog 3 miles, then take your sock off, put the fish in it, uh, put the fish back inside your shoe, put that in the oven, let it bake for 30 minutes.
Well, I mean, they make it with lye, and lutefisk is. I think it's more of a Norwegian dish than it is a
Maybe
Swedish.
so. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's some questionable stuff they do with fish up in the northern stretches. Um, but yeah, anything they make with lye that can
Yeah.
actually kill you. And the whole idea about the consistency of lutefisk just I mean, I don't like that gelatinous taste anyway. So the mouth feel of it, I just no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I will say that lye cured olives are delicious, so I don't have the same bias against lye that you do. But
You're a
lye is
liar.
exactly. I'm somebody who makes music. I'm a stringed instrument that makes music. But all right, that's. I'm trying to
I
think
think
of
that's
other.
good for. I think that's good for Sweden.
We did
I
a
love
pretty good
Sweden.
job on Sweden. We knew more about it than I thought we would.
I love Sweden. Well, I mean, I've been taking Swedish classes for a long time. I don't know. I still. I mean, I struggle with pronunciations. I mean, I can say "Välkommen till Sweden" or "till Sverige," which is the actual pronunciation of the country's name, Sverige, not Sweden.
Swedish fish really are from Sweden. I looked that
Oh,
up.
hot
I mean, I
damn.
hope so.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise they'd have to sue, right?
Yeah,
Um, is Sweden still a monarchy?
it is still a monarchy. So it's a constitutional. It's a parliamentary constitutional monarchy. King Carl the 16th is the current king of Sweden.
King
And there is
Carl.
a crown princess. I had it written down here. Crown Princess Victoria is next in line. Prime Minister is Ulf Kristersson of the Moderate Party, I believe.
Right.
Um, and so the current party does sit with. So the Swedish Democratic Party has been at many times during its times and quite rightly so been accused of neo-Nazism and things like that. Um, uh,
As we all
it
are at some point.
did get 73 seats in the last Riksdag. The Riksdag has 349 seats, which goes to my point that the United States Congress is far too small for the size of country that we have because Sweden only has 10 million people.
Right.
They have 340 million people in their unicameral legislature. But we need far more people in our legislature, I think. Um, but the Swedish Democrats are not actually part of the official government, but they give supply and comfort, I think is the term for it, um, to the government. So they are the extra seats that actually put them over the top to be in the government. It's the first time that the Sweden Democrats have been part of the government as part of this really hardcore far right wave that swept across Europe. It's disturbing, especially with that party. Um, but at least the government had enough temerity not to put them into actual government.
Right.
But it still sucks that they're there. So
Let's see what else. Swedish royal family. Um, I know they. I believe the royal family evacuated to England during
yes,
World War II.
so Sweden was they were taken over by the Nazis.
Yeah.
For the during the war. The Norwegians fought to keep them out, but yeah, it was a trying time for Scandinavia. Eventually, the royal family returns after the war and takes back over.
Yeah.
But
And the big trader in Norway, his name now actually means trader.
really,
Quisling.
Quisling.
Yeah, Quisling,
All right,
which means traitor, but it actually he was the guy who betrayed the Norwegian forces to the Nazis.
there you go.
So in the same way that
Benedict Arnold, like you're being a Benedict Arnold. It's the same thing.
if you want to
Wow.
take a crap, right, it's named after Prince John, who was that part's not true.
All right,
Dan's got jokes.
and has jokes tonight.
On from Sweden.
Yes,
Yes.
let's do. All right, Dan. What is your story for the day?
Let's see. What is my story for the day? I had something I wanted to talk about, and I can't remember what the fuck it was now.
Oh no.
Um,
Well,
let
let's
me.
talk about Rosalind Carter.
Okay, yeah, let's talk briefly about Rosalind
Yeah,
Carter.
so sad story out of Plains, Georgia. Rosalind Carter, the wife of former President Jimmy Carter, passed away at the age of 96. was not a surprise. She had been in ill health, was put into hospice like very recently, and did not make it long. Honestly, I don't think Jimmy makes it long either.
No, I
When
mean,
when it
it's
comes to these,
astonishing how long he's been in hospice.
yeah,
Mhm.
he's and when you talk about love stories like this, they talk about the golden year. You lose something that's very close to you, whether it's a parent or a spouse. There's a year that have a much higher propensity for dying suddenly.
Mhm.
Right.
It happened to my wife's parents. Her father died very suddenly, and her mother just kind of gave up. And
Yep.
and 4 months later, she was gone. So, I mean, there is something to it. I think when there is a relationship that close, there is a bond that gets broken and breaks the will of the other person.
Well, and I think too that there is a part of it that you have to have the will to live because,
Yeah.
I'm not an overly religious person, but I do think that the Buddhists have it right that life is suffering. And the only way to free yourself from suffering is to free yourself from
Want.
from wanting things, from desire. And in order to want to go on living, you have to put some effort into it. You've got to eat and bathe and, all this shit. And there are a lot of times that, and I don't want anybody to mistake what I'm saying is suicidal, but there are times that I think to myself that it will be nice when I can put all my fucking burdens down, not have to deal with shit anymore. Uh,
Mhm.
and, you know, why do we do it? Why do we live our lives? I mean, mostly, I think most of us do it for other people.
Mhm.
It gives meaning to our lives. And when that other person isn't there so much, it's pretty easy to say, yeah, I'm not going to do that stuff anymore. I'm not going to do the hard work of breathing, which, it is hard for some people. I'm not going to do the hard work of moving, exercising, stuff like that. I don't know what kind of state Jimmy's in right now, but I mean, he entered hospice a long time ago.
Months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Rosalind was not in hospice until like she entered
The
hospice and
last
then she was
24
dead.
hours or so? Yeah.
Exactly. Very interesting pathology there. But
I think it happens. I mean, maybe it was the fact that Jimmy wasn't there at the home that really got to her.
maybe I mean you would think that she would be visiting him a little bit,
Oh, yeah, she
but
would visit him, but I mean, I think,
I was
you know
under the impression he was at hospice at home
I probably, right? I mean, why
Yeah.
would they take him anywhere else?
because like they would even show because I followed them on Instagram. They even showed the last little festival that they had in town the Carters attended.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean that was, what, October maybe.
I think Rosalind Carter famous for a lot of things, but maybe the biggest one was Jimmy Carter's interview with Playboy, where when he was president, and one of the things that he talked about was I've got the quote right here. He said that he had looked on a lot of women with lust and committed adultery in his heart many times. Just strange, right? It's a strange
Yeah.
thing to say, and I suspect that the wholesome man that Jimmy Carter is, his definition of adultery might not be as unwholesome as other people's.
No, no. I mean, you could tell that he was definitely
Yeah.
a different dude in that. Yeah,
Well,
he thought of it. He probably did think he was cheating in his
yeah.
mind.
Well, I mean, it's like in many ways. I mean, I hate to hold Mike Pence up as an example, but there are lots of people from various religions who have that level of I'm not supposed to be alone with a person of the opposite sex, unless the situation absolutely requires it. Stuff like that. They just avoid that level. There are Orthodox Jews who think they're not supposed to touch women
Yeah.
who are not either in their family
The same
or,
thing with Muslims, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of women who are like, that's not a bad idea. But
Real.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And so that's, I always thought about Rosalind Carter getting the, I don't want to say the raw end of the stick, but sort of being dragged into that thing when she didn't do anything to deserve that. It was all Jimmy's statement.
It was Jimmy's mind. It wasn't even like Jimmy was, doing anything. It was just that Jimmy felt guilty for his thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Well, and
it's
it
kind
was
of refreshing when you think about all the politicians out there that
exactly
are guilty for what they actually did.
I
right.
did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I
Who
did
was
not
the
sleep with
guy?
that woman. We were up all night.
Who
Yeah.
was the guy with the foot symbols?
What's
Is that Packard?
What?
Oh, no. You're talking about the dude in the airport?
Yeah,
That was Larry
Packard,
Craig.
Packwood, Larry.
That was
What?
Larry Craig, the Idaho senator that was
Gotcha.
tapping his
Yeah,
foot in the,
right.
wide
Doing
stance.
right.
Yeah.
Doing the symbol that 10 out of 10 gay men will say means come over into my stall so I can blow you.
Yeah.
And somehow he was doing that. Now the weird thing is he's doing that with an FBI agent in the next
I don't know if he was an
stall.
FBI agent. I think he was a St. Paul police officer
Police
or something like
officer,
that.
whatever it is. It's the weirdest sting operation ever.
It is. Apparently, they've been having problems. I guess this is a well-known thing.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I don't know. That was a weird one. Packwood was just sexually harassing his staff.
Right. That's what I was thinking. And you're right, I'm
Uh,
wrong.
then there was Gary Condit, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Congressman.
Gross.
Yep. Classic.
But yeah, so it's sad. I mean, Rosalind Carter was very very much graceful. That Southern belle. Apparently was the kind of campaign manager for Jimmy Carter's early career. Did advise and consult for. Yeah, 77 years is a long time. I just passed 21 years this week. I couldn't imagine 77. I mean, I don't think I'm going to live long enough to hit 77, but mazel tov to them, man. That's a number right there. That is a long time to be married, and you could tell that they loved each other, and that
Mhm.
you know, despite Jimmy's sinning of the mind, that he did love her, and that he was devoted to her, and that's why I think that we're probably going to hear news soon that Jimmy has also passed,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which
And
is sad.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Jimmy was a better private citizen than he was a president.
Right, exactly. I mean, it
He
was
did some good stuff as president, did regulations
yeah.
and things like that.
Well, and
His the
Menachem
thing that
Begin and Sadat,
yeah,
the Camp David Accords.
I mean, for all the stuff about humanitarian and you know, uh, rights and stuff around the world, I think part of his image was clouded by the whole Shah of Iran thing, giving comfort to him, raising his glass at the 1979
Yeah,
New Year celebration to the Shah, so, toasting him as a paragon of virtue when he was using the shit out of his citizens.
yeah.
That kind of clouds it, but all the stuff he did after he left the White House, the Carter Center, and all that stuff that
Habitat for Humanity.
Habitat for Humanity,
Mhm.
monitoring elections, things like that. I mean, he did a ton of great stuff.
Yeah,
So
no, he
on
definitely.
balance, was a phenomenal human. Is a phenomenal human being.
Yeah, and right, burdened. I believe the first presidential candidate to really be burdened with a super crazy brother. Uh,
Yeah,
Billy was
Billy
Billy
Carter.
Carter.
Billy Carter.
Yeah, because he
Billy
had
Beer.
Billy Beer. Exactly right. He used he used his notoriety to launch a brand of beer, which he was always drinking whenever he would be interviewed. And funny dude.
Yeah, he was.
I'm assuming Billy's dead by now.
Oh, he's got to be.
Gotta
I don't
be.
think. I don't think he made it past the 80s. So
Right, exactly. Uh, Bill Carter is a writer and director. He directed the documentary film Miss. It can't be the same one.
Can't be the same thing. Yes, Department of Education was under Carter. That was a mistake. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and what's crazy about it is Jerry Brown, who was governor of California, ended up running for president, primarying Carter, uh, opposed to the Department of Education,
Oh yeah.
which is crazy. That right? It was a Democrat who first led the opposition to the Department of Education.
Yeah, he's probably the last incumbent that got. Well, no, Bush Senior did get primaried by Pat Robertson, but
Yeah,
the last serious.
Donald Trump was primaried by William Weld.
Yeah, but that wasn't a serious challenge because I mean he
I
wasn't
mean,
on the ballots. I mean he was
he was on
and,
the ballot. He was on
Trump
the ballot in New Hampshire, but
Trump Trump had managed to secure most of the delegates by the time they even
yes,
asked to vote in that election. But
yes,
Carter had not only Graham, but he also had Ted Kennedy
right,
opposed him as well, with
right,
serious challenges on his left, and weakened him for the 1980 election against Ronald Reagan, who swept to power.
right.
One
Which
of
I
the
mean,
largest
right
at the time.
in right. Reagan was, a force of nature.
Yeah.
That wasn't the big one, but I still think he had well over 300 electoral votes in the first election.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Right, the second one was it was only Minnesota, right?
Minnesota and DC.
Right. Ronald Reagan carried Massachusetts.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of
California
Republicans who
and
have ever carried Massachusetts.
yeah, that's a feat in and of itself to win
Yeah,
that many straight states in an election. I don't think we'll ever see that again unless we just have the
yeah,
massive collapse of one of the parties. So,
yeah. So
um,
incidentally, Billy Carter lived till 1988,
88.
uh, the grand old age of 51. So
Yeah, he put a lot
younger
of
than
miles on
you
his
or me.
No, I'm 50.
Not anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Uh, we'll repeat this story in 2 years.
There you go. All right. All right. All right, Dan, did you think of your story yet?
I have no idea what the hell my story is. I'm sorry. I completely forgot it. I mean, there's a lot of fascinating stuff in the news that we can talk about. Um,
Oh,
I know what it is. A true libertarian has been elected on the world stage.
I don't know if I'd call him a true libertarian.
I mean, he is,
I think he's an anarcho-capitalist.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's an anarcho-capitalist.
I think a lot of his statements during the election are more socially conservative than I would be
Yeah.
comfortable throwing the libertarian label on. Although he is being labeled a libertarian in a lot of news stories. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, he is a small government. Like, I mean, one of the things they're going to do is they're going to peg the Argentinian peso to the US dollar, which Argentina has done before.
yeah,
Um,
no, Argentina's economy is just
in the
a
toilet.
disaster. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not
And
surprised that somebody of his ilk did win
uh,
because
he is a big cryptocurrency supporter,
yeah,
which is going to be interesting. And more interestingly, he is
yes, Javier Gerardo
Milei.
Rico Suave.
Yeah.
Blay.
But he is also quite friendly with many prominent libertarians that we know very well. Some friends of ours in Southern Florida who actually have left the Libertarian Party of the United States, but are friends with Milei.
Zach
So,
Foster and
yeah, it's
yeah.
going to be very interesting to see what happens because, their economy is fucked.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's what I'm
so,
hoping is that he focuses on the economy and not the
well,
weird Trumpian social issues that we're
yeah, I
in.
mean, his opponents are going to try to play that his cutting back on social services is a weird social dystopian thing,
Yeah,
but it is also an economic thing.
sure.
And so I think that's where he's going to go. I mean, what I expect to see him do is to essentially dramatically cut government spending and not do anything else.
I would hope so, but he has made some statements about especially about LGBTQ and things like that that do cause me concern that If he gets in trouble, is he going to run to social issues to rev up his base, or is he going to fight the fight on economics, get Argentina's economics somewhat manageable? I mean, it is that they're a country that has defaulted on debt several times over the last few years. Their peso has been in the toilet, rampant inflation. I mean, not just inflation, but hyperinflation, where it's going up over 100% over the period of a few days. The whole wheelbarrow to the grocery store type inflation. Um, so yeah, there are definitely economic things that he can be doing that would help the country. But if he starts going after the social issues like he's campaigned on, that does give me pause about him.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very unlikely to me that he really cares about that stuff. I mean, he's opposed to the Pope. He's declared himself an enemy, but you know, I'm also kind of opposed to the Pope. So, I mean, Pope's not bad
It
for a
is true.
Catholic, but I mean, he is still the Pope.
Well, and Argentina is a massively Catholic country, so
Exactly.
but I mean, worldwide Catholicism has fallen off over the last 2 decades, just with
Yeah. Yeah.
scandals and all that stuff.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean,
Plus,
I
the
think the
Pope
number
is
one thing
from
he's going to
Argentina.
do, yeah, the number one thing that he's going to do is move to the dollar standard, close the central bank, uh, and start pushing crypto, digital currency, which I mean, I have mixed
How
feelings
is
about.
it's El Salvador, or is it Guatemala that did it's El Salvador who did the, crypto stuff. How are they doing?
Um,
Like, I haven't really heard.
I mean, where it's mostly being used is in places with collapsed economies. So, like Venezuela, for example, or
Yeah,
Cuba, their crypto's incredibly valuable to people because the local currency is worth shit.
yeah,
Argentina's in that same space.
sure.
Uh, going to a digital currency, I don't know if what their plan is. If they're getting rid of the central bank, are they going to have a central bank digital currency? Because that's worse. Or are they going to just, does the government start accepting digital currency?
Yeah, I'll hold off on Milei until he actually is in power for a little bit, but I'm watching him.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see, because this is kind of the reaction in South America to what has happened in other parts of South America where, it's been a wave of really left-leaning leaders, the Lula da Silva coming back to power in Brazil. Bolivia has
Right.
always been kind of that left of center
Lula,
government,
who's also a CIA agent, right?
something
It's
like
pretty
that. Yeah.
crazy. Um,
Yeah. Does this kind of lead to a revival of, I would hope it's more of a liberal, and using the classical liberal term, but a revival of liberal democracy in South America, and not,
yeah,
just a continuation of, from left to right semi dictatorship.
yeah. It is true that Milei is pro-life.
Yeah.
Um, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do about that, though, because Argentina is a country that has been pro-choice. It would
And
be,
heavily so. Yeah.
yeah, it'd be very
Or
difficult,
Catholic.
even though it's a Catholic nation, and the Pope's from there. So, what can he do about that? I don't know. I mean, if you're right that if he spends his political capital to do stuff like that, he's going to fail at everything else.
Yep.
On the other hand, if you were to really dig into closing the central bank, moving to a digital currency, um, I mean, I think that pegging the peso to the dollar is going to happen right away, just because they've done that before. Then, of course, the downside of that is for them, you know, I've got all of these Argentine pesos, which I'm going to turn in for millions of dollars in U.S. Currency.
There you go.
Um, I'll be interested to see what happens.
So, yeah, his middle name is Gerardo, which, every time they say that, they have to say, Rico, suave. All right, AJ, what is your story for the evening?
Oh, well, I know y'all are gonna be shocked, but Tennessee, man, Tennessee just be wildin'.
No.
This week, I'm going to talk about Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is about 40 minutes from me. Murfreesboro, Tennessee is the home of MTSU. It is a pretty big college town, really and truly, centered in Rutherford County, which also is home to Smyrna and Antioch and, right there next to Nashville. So, Murfreesboro City Council passed an ordinance against indecency in front of minors. And in this ordinance was a clause concerning homosexuality. And they were using that clause to keep uh, Borough Pride from happening. Borough Pride's a very big event that happens every year. They usually do it in like September. And they were able to do it this year because of a lawsuit where it got blocked. The ordinance was blocked specifically for this event. They have since removed homosexuality clause from it after a lot of uproar after Tennessee Holler released the story, and they had a lot of public backlash. They are using it to remove books, of course, from the libraries because that's the
Oh,
country that we live in now. Um, the fact that there was a clause against homosexuality in an indecency ordinance, um, this even bothered the Mises caucus out of Arizona. They posted about it. Uh,
wow.
If it bothered if it bothered the Mises motherfuckers, it must be pretty bad, huh? They called it vile, actually. So this is where I'm at in Tennessee. Like, this is what it's like. Every week, there's a city or a county or somebody that's going very, very white Christian nationalist, anti homosexuality. It's something every single week. Um, it is absolutely shocking to me that they are banning books in a city that has MTSU. Like, how is that? It just blows my mind. And actually, this past year, go figure, or this past fall, their numbers were down. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, yeah, Tennessee's not a friendly state for a lot of people.
Well, and it's
Not friendly
interesting
for
that
women. It's not friendly for gay people. It's not friendly for black people or brown people. Probably not Jewish people. Sorry. Like it's really just not friendly for much of anyone,
and I
and it's continuing to grow. I mean, like, okay, we had Greg Locke on Christmas, excuse me, on Halloween was burning all anything that they considered a cult, and I'm like, somebody's burning their supernatural poster, like, or it's just dumb shit
yeah.
because this is not there. People living their lives are no danger to anyone else. It's very strange. What was the show that I started watching? It takes place during the Lavender trials, McCarthy and all of that. Fellow Travelers, that's what it is. And you're watching these people, just people, scared to death to be themselves, scared to death to be accused of being gay, period, because they would be completely blackballed in Washington. They would be completely stonewalled out of employment. They'd have to go back home to Ohio or Indiana or wherever the crap they came from. Um, but yet so many people were just hiding who they were. For
When
for
when
what?
the director of the FBI was cross-dressing himself and yeah,
Yes, and I'm sorry, how is homosexuality a danger to democracy? Someone please explain that to me.
it's
That will
communism.
never make sense to me.
It's communism.
Um, I just I don't know, between watching that show and then, like, Murfreesboro's right, we go there that's like our like day trip. That's like our getaway city, you know. We'll go there, we'll go to the mall because they actually still have a mall. And, you know, they have lots of things to do. And now it's like, oh, well, I guess maybe we shouldn't go there anymore either. Like, look
It's hard.
around behind me. This is pretty much my life right now is in this house because the rest of Tennessee is fucking crazy.
Well,
Like,
you're seeing a lot of colleges losing population, primarily because it's expensive to go to school. You have to get
mhm,
your student loans. You have to get your, financial aid if you can get it. Um, then you have to, if you're a freshman at a lot of these schools that make you live on campus and make you pay all this money to do it. Um, so either they're going to trade schools or they're going to online universities to avoid that, those charges. It's still expensive as hell to go to college, but if you go to a trade school, it's not that bad. But yeah, this is not helping them recruit and retrain people into their university by demonizing, and it's the city that's demonizing. It's not the university. To be clear,
it is the city that's
yeah,
demonizing.
and
MTSU has not come out with a statement though.
and here's the thing, it's hard because most of the college students that go to the university are not from the local area, and they're not as politically engaged, and then even ones that are politically engaged may still be registered to vote in their old town, their hometown, which they're more familiar with, rather
Mhm.
than registering to vote in their new town.
And honestly, are they even gonna have an option? Like, that is a
Sure.
lot of the problem. Everybody I've watched it, like, this whole year that Tennessee has been doing what it's doing. People in the comments are like, "Oh, come on, Tennessee, vote. Get out and vote. Y'all have gotta get out and choose somebody else. Y'all voted these people in." It's like, we don't have any option.
No, the political
We
system is
have
screwed.
Republican, 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 Republican. Like, that's it.
And the political system is screwed because, the Democrats have pretty much capitulated in the area, and they
Mhm.
have pretty much locked down anybody else running for office, to being like a write-in candidate. So, I mean,
Yes.
there's not really a place for on the ballot to have anyone other than the Republicans, and really at that point, the primary is the general election because they're not gonna face any general election opposition from the Democrats at all, and then there's
Very
not gonna be
rarely.
anybody that really has any movement, as an independent or a write-in vote, so
Yeah.
it's hard to think of. We've gotten to the point where I think a lot, the parties have really caused us to have just this massive level of apathy when it comes to participating, especially if you live in a state that is, like Massachusetts, that's massively, Democratic, or even Maryland that's massively Democratic, uh, to California, or to, Georgia, or West Virginia, or Tennessee, which is massively Republican. It's like, yeah, I can put all this money into running as a Democrat, but I'm gonna get swamped because there's a massive
Yes.
registration difference, and people here are just not angry enough to throw the bums out. And that's the
Well,
thing, they try and do all this stuff in secret and keep it from you, and you don't see it going on, so you don't get angry about it. And only the really politically aware people this stuff impacts, and it's a lot of, this is why they're targeting marginalized communities, is that if I anger gay people and I've angered trans people, so what? They're 15% maybe of the electorate. They
mhm.
weren't gonna vote for me anyway. And if they get angry, they show up to the polls, that's fine. They're not gonna anger everybody else that might come out to the polls.
I don't know. Okay, here is something I have noticed because I am probably more informed than I should be, probably more informed that it's good for my mental health. And the majority of the I can have conversations with people and discuss it with them and whatnot, and I can explain to them that, yes, you know, my family, we are leaving because of these reasons, right? And they will be like, "Oh, yes, yes, yeah, oh, I see how that's terrible. Oh, yep, you know, I I do think that Trump's gonna go to prison and da da da, but I'm still gonna vote for him." I'm sorry. What the
Oh
fuck
yeah,
did you just say to me? You
they
said you
moved me.
understood everything that I said. You understood that my family's having to leave our home because of the Republicans. You understand that Trump called us all vermin last week. Vermin last week. And you're still going to vote for him.
Hey, nothing wrong with being vermin supreme.
No, nothing wrong with being vermin supreme. And we know that that's not how Trump meant it
Oh, I
at
know.
fucking all. No. And I'm watching that show today and I'm listening to them talk about homosexuals being a danger to democracy. And I can't, I mean, you could overlay this shit and it's just so similar.
Yeah.
Except that's supposed to be fucking entertainment. This is actually our reality and it's terrifying. People are going to vote Republican anyway. Like I can tell all of my friends, all of my family, now this person did this and this representative did this and this person da da da, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, all of that's bad," and then go to the poll and vote for them anyway. And it's like,
The only way you can fix stupid is with a shovel and an alibi.
well, my lawyer would really not appreciate me
Nice.
responding to that on live fucking whatever the fuck. So no, I can hear him back here being like, don't say it.
Don't respond.
Um,
Don't let Dave egg you on to make bad
yes.
choices. That was
You do
not
not look
legal
good in
advice.
orange.
I'm just
Um,
saying that's the only way you can fix stupid. So
no, it's just, it's mind blowing to me, y'all. I don't get it how you can sit there and have a logical, civil conversation with someone and then be like, you know what? That is terrible what they are doing. I'm gonna vote for them anyway. And it's just like I could get in a lot of trouble for what I want to do.
yeah, no, I get you. All right, y'all,
Um,
you ready for the quiz?
I'm ready.
yes, let's do the quiz.
Let's do the
And then
quiz. All right, context clues. We got a lion. We got something. Oh, this is the California bridge that burned up. And liquid hot magma. It looks really
Magma.
snowing. Magma. All right, ready?
um,
Everybody in the audience, please feel free to participate. Put your answers in the chat, and we will share them as you get them right, and make fun of you as you get. No, I won't make fun of you, but that's fine. All right, question number one. Thousands of people participated in a pro-Israeli protest this week in which city? Chicago, Boston, Washington, D.C., or flippin' Philadelphia?
I did not go,
Was it in
but it
D.C.?
was close enough that I could have gotten to it.
Was it D.C. or Philadelphia? I know there was a big one in D.C. Yeah, there was a big. In fact, they told people that go into D.C. to stay home that day. So
Well, I mean, here's the thing that they're
it
not
shut
talking
down
about.
several blocks.
The I mean, DC obviously because the American government is an extension of the global Jewish policies.
hmm.
You are going to get me in trouble. I'm going to get shut down, man.
I'm just kidding, folks. Don't kick Dave off the air.
Yeah.
But
I think it was DC. Oh, James says Boston, and we got Washington, D.C. from Janice. Correct. Massive pro-Israeli demonstration took place Tuesday on the National Mall, which is not a mall. It's just patch grass. March is believed to be the largest pro-Israeli gathering in the United States since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. All right, question number two. State labs recently found an extremely high levels of lead in which popular snack food? String cheese, applesauce, carrot sticks, or yogurt?
Boy, I don't know
Yogurt.
this.
I'm seeing orange in the background
Right. And green.
and green, which is both. Yeah, that could be carrots. Could be applesauce. Are you saying you're saying yogurt, AJ?
It just reminds me of a packet of that Go-Gurt crap that comes in the little plastic tubes.
Mm.
I had a child that was obsessed with that for a minute.
My guess
But
is
it's just a guess on the package.
is that it's going to be something that's grown And so I think applesauce or carrot sticks more than anything else.
I
But
think
that's just a guess.
cutting the carrot sticks down to size, but I mean, why would you cut them with a lead knife?
No, I think that it's something that's in the earth already.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Well, I mean, that would
That does
be
make
carrots
sense.
as well. They're like whole carrots. I think you would want to.
Right. But well, let's maybe we should go with the
I
idea
don't
of
know.
which one of these constitutes popular snack food.
Yogurt. A string cheese, I don't know how, I mean, unless in the manufacturing process.
Yogurt is certainly that makes more sense. I guess because it's dairy.
I'm waiting for the audience. Please help us, audience. Your only hope.
Help us,
I have
help us
no idea on this one.
without Google searching.
Help! Help!
Hit me. Hit me.
Yeah, my guess. Let's wait for the audience to chime in. But my guess, I guess, actually is going to be yogurt, just because.
Are they letting it?
Yeah, they have no idea either. All right, so what do we think? Let's go.
Let's do yogurt.
All right.
Swedish fish.
Swedish fish. I mean, that might be. No, it's
Oh,
applesauce.
no.
Damn it! I
Ooh,
was
Who
right.
Craig,
eats
Craig got
applesauce?
it. Craig, be faster, man.
Yeah,
Who eats applesauce?
I love applesauce.
Do you really?
Applesauce,
I love
apple butter.
applesauce.
Yeah,
Applesauce with a sprinkle of
pork
cinnamon
chops.
on top.
Applesauce on pork chops. Applesauce on
Oh,
latkes.
I don't do applesauce.
Delicious on all those things.
All right. Which question number 3? Which city was forced to close one of its busiest freeways due to a major fire?
This one we know.
Yes, Chicago, Los Angeles, Denver, or Houston. It was L.A. Pallets did it. Pallets burn hard. So
Wow.
large fire forced the indefinite closure of the I-10 in one of the busiest arteries in Los Angeles. Massive blaze was started intentionally, Gavin Newsom said. Hey, interesting. I think that happened a few years ago here in the DC area. In Atlanta, somebody intentionally started a fire that caused a issue with the bridge
Yeah, I mean this one
and the connector, I think.
is pretty impressive. It's going to be interesting as to why, if they can find a motive, and I suspect they will because there's cameras all over the place.
Yeah.
Um, I know the answer to this one.
Janice and James for getting the answer right on that one. Question number 4, Diwali, which is one of the biggest festivals in India, was celebrated this week with much fervor. What is the holiday also known as? The Festival of Lights, Festival of Colors, Festival of Flowers, or Festival of Rain? I know this one too. AJ, do you know this one?
I have no idea.
I believe it is the Festival of Lights,
It is the Festival of Lights. Janice got it as well.
just like Hanukkah.
More than 1 billion Hindu, Sikhs, Jains, and Buddhists around the world celebrated Diwali, also known as the Festival of Lights. It is a beautiful, beautiful celebration. Happy Diwali to anybody who celebrates. All right. There my cursor went. All right, question number 5. Which country declared a state of emergency this week over a threat of a possible volcanic eruption? I saw this story, so I know which one it is. Is it Norway, Finland, Iceland, or Denmark?
I'll give people a hint. It's not a warm country. It's slippery. It had a giant volcano.
There we go. We got some answers.
Good job, Ken.
Greg.
Yeah.
And Ken. Good
Iceland had
stuff.
a volcano that erupted not that long ago. And
Yeah,
shut
that one that disturbed
flight.
traffic,
Yeah.
air traffic across the Atlantic. This one could be even bigger. So, had they showed a map of the earthquakes that had hit around southern Iceland, and it was rather harrowing. Like large scale earthquakes hitting. Like one day they had like 1,000 earthquakes. It was
Pretty
That's
crazy.
gonna be awful, man.
Yep.
Yeah, see 1,000 earthquakes recently hit Iceland within a 24-hour span. The world famous Blue Lagoon thermal spa in the area was temporarily closed due to ongoing seismic activity. Those things are thermal. I wouldn't want to be nowhere near a thermal spa if a earth or with a volcano rather close by because that may go from thermal to boiling.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. So, question number 6: which government institution announced a code of conduct this week in an attempt to address ethics concerns? I saw this story as well. Supreme Court, House of
Mhm.
Representatives, Federal Reserve, or Treasury Department.
Should
I
be
mean,
im-
all four.
it should be noted that
It should
this
be all
code of
four.
contact has no teeth to it.
Nope, nothing at all.
Like, like, like good head.
But it is the Diana Ross Court.
Lame as shit court.
Only for our. Craig gets it.
Greg gets it too.
All right.
I know we were talking about Sweden, but I have the Finland song running through my mind.
What is the Finland?
Finland, 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 the country where I'd quite like to be. You're not familiar with this?
I am not familiar with that.
It's
I may have heard it sometime, but
by Monty
I'm
Python.
getting old, man. I don't remember shit now. All right, question number 7: which company is planning on label realistic AI generated content?
You're so near to Russia, so
Instagram,
far from
YouTube,
Japan,
Google, or Facebook?
quite a long way from Cairo, lots of miles from Vietnam.
Is it
Finland, Finland,
YouTube?
Finland. Uh, I think it's going to be YouTube,
That's what
but
I
I don't
was
know.
thinking.
Might be Instagram.
No, I like Instagram.
Well, doesn't hurt you. All
Realistic
it does,
AI generated
it
content.
says this picture that you're looking at was made by AI.
I don't want to look at pictures made by AI.
You don't
I
have
like
to.
Instagram.
It's not going to change
I think we've
Instagram.
stumped the audience as well.
Right.
Oh, James says Facebook.
Oh, well, Facebook's stupid anyway.
Facebook is
Right.
all right. Y'all
I
are
say
on
Insta.
Insta.
Yeah.
AJ, you're saying
I said
YouTube.
YouTube.
James says Facebook. Craig says Facebook. We got 2 votes for Facebook here.
I'm willing to concede.
All right, let's try Facebook. Oh, it's YouTube.
AJ had it.
AJ had it. Yeah, YouTube will soon require disclosures on videos that contain content generated by artificial intelligence and could mislead viewers.
Well, hang on. It says will require disclosures.
Yeah.
hmm
That's kind of stupid.
I mean, how do you do that? Like, it may be something where they discover a video eventually without
Yeah.
AI, but then you're probably going to end up seeing people with AI content that was done before this getting booted off, and all the complaints that happened with it. So, all right, question number 8: which celebrity hosted the 2024 Academy Awards? Amy Schumer, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, Jimmy Kimmel, or Taylor Swift? I did not watch them. Oh no, it's Will host. I probably won't watch them anyway.
I know this.
I mean, that's a blonde.
Was at one point in time
Yeah.
a co-host of The Man Show.
Oh,
Jimmy Kimmel,
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yes.
Are you sure?
The Man Show.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
maybe
sure.
so. That's gross.
You know, when Jen Psaki was the White House press secretary, I thought that they should, do every time that she walked to the podium the Man Show thing with the siggy sucky, oi oi oi, and drink beer.
Right.
I think that
I
would have
thought they should do the laugh-in thing of Saki it to me.
All right, Jimmy Kimmel returning to host the Oscars for the 4th time. Janice got the Jimmy Kimmel as well. I didn't put much stock into Taylor James because she is too
Yeah.
busy being
She's too
Travis
huge.
Kelce. Yeah. There's no reason for her to do it. Like if she was, had a couple down years, maybe she
Yeah.
dives into it to revive stuff, but doesn't make sense. Which state is asking for help in redesigning its flag? California, Nevada, Louisiana, or Minnesota?
I think that it's California.
No, that is not California's flag.
No, that's the new one.
Oh, please don't be the new one.
It's
I thought
It's
California had a really nice, distinctive flag.
it did, but it has something racist on it.
There's a star, there is a bear, there's white. Oh, there you go. There's a red bar at the bottom of it. Anna says Minnesota, and she's in California, so I'm going to put more weight in that. And it makes sense. I think Minnesota has like a Native American on their flag or something like that.
You know what it is? It's the bear that's on the California flag was adopted by a group that were anti-immigrant. They were called the Bear. Where is it? The Bear Flaggers. And in fact, they had a flag that had a bear on it beforehand. So that's
Wow.
um,
We're going deep dive on some things.
it's pretty deep. I'm willing to concede it could be Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Minnesota because the flag on there is what. So they're American state flags get a lot of guff for being what they call dinner plate specials. That it's just a field, generally blue in color, and then the seal of the state on the center. It looks like a plate. So they call it the blue plate specials. Um, I know some states have moved to change it. Like I really like Utah's new flag. It's really distinctive. I've always loved New Mexico's flag because it's different colors than most state flags. Um, but let's check out Minnesota. James is saying Minnesota as well. Oh, it is.
All right.
Minnesota received more than 2,600 design submissions for its new state flag. A change comes as the current Minnesota state flag has long drawn criticism for both its design and depiction of indigenous
Right.
Americans. I
Right.
knew that there was something with indigenous Americans there.
It looks like it was knitted by a sixth grade arts and crafts class.
Oh yeah, it definitely does look like a one of those
Le
needle
Toile,
point by number type things.
Le Toile du Nord, the what of the North?
L'Etoile of the North, Star of the North.
Star of the North. All right. Man, if only they had a hockey team.
Oh, shots fired. All right, question number 10. Which animal breeds from a circus near Rome? That was one of our context clues.
Yeah.
Bear,
Oddly
tiger,
enough,
lion,
I
or horse?
just watched the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie in which his character's name is Leon. And the name of the movie is, of course, Lionheart.
Lionheart. And he's now what, a state trooper in Louisiana, something like that now?
Who, Van Damme?
Yeah, he's been doing like police stuff. Or yeah, was that Van Damme? Or
Really?
I think you're thinking of
no,
Seagal.
Steven Seagal. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Shaq does that too. He's like a reserve officer.
Yeah, I know Van Damme was just in some movie recently.
Van Damme.
What the hell was it? Muscles for Brussels.
Muscles. Nice. All right, we got 8 out of 10. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. I didn't pay too much attention to the news this week, so. But I did know some things. Just did not know that YouTube had updated its policy, or what was the other thing we missed? Oh, applesauce. All right. So, anything else? Oh, yes, AJ, you've got some holiday advice. What is your
I
holiday?
do. I have just a couple little things here and there. First of all, This week is really, really stressful for a lot of people. And so I kind of just feel like I should tell you to not feel obligated to go to any family function that you're dreading. If you are dreading it, like you cannot think of anything else, maybe that's not the family function for you. Don't be afraid to excuse yourself from any function that has become unbearable. You can leave. You can
Yeah.
literally just leave. Nothing's going to happen to you if you don't. Trust me, I've left plenty and just not attended others. It's been okay. Should you go to these things, volunteer to take off the trash. If you have a truck, you take off the trash because the majority of the time, the people that are in the trucks didn't do any of the meal planning or cooking or any of that stuff. And for that matter, volunteer to do the dishes. If you don't cook or you didn't bring a dish, yeah, you could get over there and wash a couple. It's not going to hurt anybody's feelings. And it may actually make you a much more valued member of the family if you'll just get in there and do some work too. If you order from anywhere, as far as Thanksgiving goes or any of the holidays, tip generously. I have worked, I don't know, this will be
Yes.
the first Thanksgiving I've been off in like 10 years.
Nice.
And every single Thanksgiving, I have somebody that is just horrible every single year. Be nice to these people. They're working holidays so that somebody else doesn't have to. You know,
Exactly.
there's no reason to be rude. Don't drink and drive. Just don't. And if you do go to jail, tip your bondsman when they come to get you because that will go a long way towards getting you a little bit more freedom on this holiday weekend. There you go. There's my
That's some
advice.
solid advice, especially
I
the
try.
if you are in a situation that is damaging to your mental health, um, get out of it. Because absolutely, if you're experiencing something that is damaging to your mental health, if you can remove yourself from that situation, because there's no reason for you to stay in it, and the consequences for leaving that situation are not worse than staying in it and damaging your mental health anymore. Also, November is a very big military month. If you're military, you've got friends that you served with, check on your buddies, make sure that they're doing okay. Make sure to give them mental health resources. If you are experiencing crisis, what's the suicide hotline number?
988.
988. So call 988. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, the holidays are often a time for exacerbated mental health issues. So reach out if you're having mental health crisis. Reach out to me. Say you're having a problem. I'll be happy to talk with you. Happy to get you resources. Just don't think that you're stuck in a bad situation because there are people here who know you, love you, and want you to be here and be happy. So other than that, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving. We will be off this week. No show on Sunday night, so I haven't decided if I'm going to do a best of or just give everyone the night off to enjoy with family and friends. Even though everybody's going to be ready to get back to work on Monday, which is sad. But um, anyway, everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you, love you, and have a great evening.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night,
Night, Gracie.
Gracie.